And so the student of life continues to walk in their life. Well, sometimes it is leaving your car to your office, and along the way, because you're a little late for work, the steps are quick and fast, and yet something along the way you meet a person or two. And I've lost my voice, huh? Is it? No? No. And you meet a person or two along the way, and all you can do is with a very quick glance is just look. But sometimes in that very quick glance, so much information is passed from one pair of eyes to another. Because both of you have found yourself in a predicament of time. It's something that are very ordinary circumstances of just going to work or going to the store. And yet somehow, with all the time that really exists in the universe, the billions and billions of years, and so quietly, it moves from moment to moment, and it does not need a clock, does not need a watch. It does not even need the beat of drums to indicate rhythm nor time. And yet, in that very short glance, as two people are very quickly crossing each other's path, one going north and one going south, they look. And with such intensity, a moment becomes an eternity. Somehow a whole lifetime is passed through one pair of eyes into the other, and somehow a whole new lifetime is passed from one pair of eyes into another. And somehow one can say, how long does it take to read a book? For some of us, a few hours, and for some of us, it can take months and sometimes a year or two. And to digest all the words and all the stories and all the chapters. But there's something about taking that glance in that only lasted but a moment. And somehow you got it, and somehow you knew. It is only that intellectual mind that somehow gets lost in that moment, that doesn't know what to do with it. Because somehow it literally moved a little too fast for its own complacency. The magics of life, the little elixirs of life, the magic wands of life, they go fleeting by so quickly. It is almost like stardust falling from the heavens, and somehow we can't see it, but yet they transverse the earth completely without touching a stone, a stick. They even cross through our bodies, and we don't even feel it. Millions and millions of these. And yet there's something about that moment, to capture the moment, to capture your feelings and not to let it run. For how easily we go into that intellectual mind and somehow take it apart, rip it apart, digest it to somehow make logic and reason happy. And here we are, lie every night on our pillows, very gently lay our heavy heads down. And what can all the experiences of the day do with that? To slowly close your eyes and rest. And somehow one realizes after so long, it is not really the experiences that matter, because there are hundreds and billions of experiences that human beings will never, ever, ever touch. For it is not the experience to seek, but the realizations of these very, very few moments that touch everybody. And like when someone touches you, a touch like no other, And somehow it touches on the emotional part of you that just creates storms inside. It is these moments to really pay attention to. We literally started with one cell. And miraculously, we have divided ourselves into hundreds and billions of cells. We have found out we are just not our names. We have found out that we are also hurt. We have found out we are also a laugh. We have found out that we are also struggle and strain. We have found out that we are also a seeker and the one that doesn't care. We have all found out that we have many other names. Call it lazy, call it ambitious, call it ones that plays, and call it one that is serious. We have found ourselves with so many different names, like all the various cells that we have in our body, a multitude of not just one identity, but many identities inside. And as these two people, call it business people, cross each other's paths so quickly, and somehow taking all the experiences very quickly into your eyes of that other person, how easily we can change. And then ironically, we find ourselves a little bored. Sometimes the waiting is a little too long. Makes our body a little fidgety. Somehow I'm hoping to hear a vibration that may be a word or a sound that somehow tantalizes my brain to give me a little stimulation to make me feel normal once again. And yet there's so much to us all. And to put all this really quite simply, how many neurons does it really take to wake up? Does it require 500 billion? Does it require 100 billion? How many neurons does it really take to wake up? How many words do I really have to learn? How many experiences must I go through? How many full moons does it take? How many times do I have to trip over trees and rocks and people and ideas? How many times do I have to climb a mountain? How many times do I have to read that book? How many times do I have to hear the word yes? How many times do I have to have that dinner? And when the student of life slowly crosses that person's path, and in a moment realizes something happened, something went inside. And somehow, because that person has to continue to go to work because they are late, and somehow put that time and space in the back burner, somehow knowing that something went inside. And for some of us, we have to sit in front of a computer, and for some of us, it's just a desk of paper and pencils, and with a telephone or two, and have to contend with the whole 8 hours of the day and to finish our job, for that's what we really get paid to do our job. And this time, leaving the office, it is not opening up the door very quickly, but slowly opening up the door to leave the building. And the student of life begins to recall that moment in time early in the morning, crossing that other person's path, and somehow trailing back all that energy and light that somehow went into your eyes, and somehow you know has a gift in it. You know it. And the student of life opens up the car door and gets in the car and slowly goes home. Turns on a radio, and somehow the synchronicity is there, and there happens to be a particular song that somehow widens the mind, widens one's heart. And in time, somehow everything starts to relax. And somehow it maybe took 8 hours, and maybe it really took just but a minute. But all that light that somehow went into that person's eyes had slowly, slowly worked itself deep into one's belly. For that is really where the mind rests. And once it's found its place, and now we have, you could say, two chemicals mixing together. And somehow the formula is good. The traffic is slow, the commute is somewhat normal. And somehow the music is a little richer than usual. And very quietly something is erupting up from deep inside, and it's a little tear. It's not a tear of pain or sorrow, but it's a little tear, something of a nature of joy. Very quietly, one's mind starts to think, how long did it take to go through the first grade? How long it really took? And how long did it take to go for the first 5 years of school? A long, long, long time. And yet, it's gone. And the student of life starts to feel the element of time itself. For it is that concept of time that gives it some reference points that somehow brings a little, let's say, comfortableness to one's personalities. And the student of life thinks, how long did it take for me to reach the age of 16? 16 very long years. And what did I learn? And the student of life thinks back, how long did it take for me to reach the age of 33 years? 33 long years. And what did I learn? And the student of life thinks, what has it taken for me to reach the age of 64 years? And what have I learned? And somehow now it is a dance within the body, and somehow it is a drumbeat that one's heart continues to beat. And not just beating to get the blood running up into your head and down into your toes, but somehow the heart seems to be emerging out of one's chest, and somehow the whole body is starting to feel and be that heartbeat. And somehow things are not quite the same. Somehow feeling a little vulnerable, driving a very dangerous and fast car actually, and yet going within the speed limits. Somehow not understanding what is going on and who was that person that passed, that moment. Who was that person that passed all that light into my eyes? For in that moment when that business person thinks back, for in that moment I was totally on guard. I had not blocked, I had no veils in front of me. I had no thinking of being threatened or insecure. I remember walking with such lightness and such joy. I had no armor of steel in front of me. I had no guns in my pistol ready to pull out and shoot someone. I had no grief, no reef with anybody. Somehow I was very neutral, somehow vulnerable. I can remember coming out of the car and feeling the wind very, very crisp on my skin. And I can remember my mind and my feelings feeling quite young, somewhat playful. And somehow I could see the predicament of that other person running towards me. And somehow I could sense we were both laughing at the predicament of what it is to be a spirited human being simply living in nature. Two human beings in a moment, two human beings in a flash. And somehow being okay with all the hurt and pain that we both have experienced. And somehow having a complete understanding of what it is to live in the 21st century in the mountains, somewhere in a continent. And somehow it was like there was no time anymore. Almost like two spirits somehow crossing each other's dreams. And somehow in such a flash, all the dreams that have been dreamt were somehow placed very simply and quietly with a little smile. And yet there's not much we can do but continue that dream. And maybe that's why whatever were in those eyes came into my eyes. For I feel somewhat alien inside my belly. I feel the chemical inside my belly somehow creating some change in me. For I think I let this person in. And the student of life continues on the commute. More and more tears erupting into the eyes and not knowing where these tears are coming from. And somehow now it's okay. In the car, protected, the glass are tinted somewhat dark. And everybody's busy anyway. I could just let myself be. And even sing if I wish. The chemical mix inside the belly is not stopping, that is for sure. And somehow the student of life and the element of time, as he looks down into his watch on his wrist and begins to realize that somehow even that little tick, tock, 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 doesn't somehow impress the business person much anymore. The windows are all rolled up, so the traffic noise is very little inside. And the student of life very quietly, every now and then, holding on to the wheel, sometimes with such tightness and feeling the sweat emanating out of the palms. But there's something inside that mind wondering, what in the world is happening to me? What have I done? And yet there's another part of that mind that knows this is so wonderful, but how alien and strange it is. And another part of the mind is saying, go for it, go for it. Let's hope it takes a long, long, long time to get home, because it seems whatever is now mixing inside my belly, it knows what it is doing. And I know this has to do with my future. And the student of life reaches with their right hand and turns on the music a little bit louder. And starts very quietly to remember what was it like in that moment when all that light came in. No having 17th century armor, no spears, no guards, no Berlin walls in front. And yet somehow, miraculously, two human beings with a synchronicity that is so unusual. Two human beings crossing the path. And all it took was but a moment. The magic of a moment. It took billions and billions of years for humanity to discover photographic paper. And all it takes is but a flash of a shutter to open and close, a nanosecond, for that light to come in and imprint on that photographic paper, and you got the picture. It is done. It's finished. It's marked. It's etched. It's painted. It is written. It is drawn. It is lasered in. And now the mind is more at rest. For the student of life understands photographic paper and how open we both were. Is this what it really is like, the student of life says, driving the car? Is this what I have been missing my whole life, not letting people in? Really? Is this what we have trained ourselves to do, to block people out, being suspicious? And we have to, actually. Just how we make ourselves feel good? Is this how we rationalize our lives? Is this why we say that is not good to look at and that is good to look at? Is this why we say that is bad and this is good? Is this why we can say, I want to be with the orange and the brown and the blue and the yellow, but not the black? When 99.9% of this universe is black. And the student of life, because the student understands photographic paper, and all it takes is but a moment to capture all the light that is there. And very, very quietly, the student of life starts to all of a sudden recall, what was it like to be so young? To always want to keep those eyes wide, wide open, completely dilated, and let all the possible light that is there in. Your brains are very, very, very tender, like snow. And every footprint made on the snow, that footprint is imprinted. It stays. And because of the interdimensions of that brain, we can have tens and billions of footprints inside. Footprints that have, you could say, of song and of dance, of war and peace and killing and hatred and joy and reading, designing, inventing. There's so much time and space in that brain. And yet how delicate it is to light. And yet somehow the time of youth and the time of an adult, somehow the bridge and the gap is not so big anymore. For somehow I have been a youth only for a moment when I crossed that stranger's path. I let all that there was of that light in. And I wonder, the student of life says that that's really what it's like to pass away. Or would my conditioning be to keep my eyes closed, or to carry my 17th century armor, or to take my guns and missiles with me, or to take a few veils that somehow I think I may need? Or are the pupils of my eyes completely wide open? The eyes looking directly into the sun. No fear of fire, which is love. No fear of fire, which is understanding. No fear of heat, which are feelings. No fear of light, which is but information. But what if I let everybody in? What will that do? And somehow there is a beauty to effort. And somehow one knows there is a beauty to work. There is a beauty to strive and to learn. There is a beauty to curiosity and to search. Take a deep breath. And the student of life knows there really is a beauty to rest and to sleep, to lounge around, to have a beer, to have a smoke, to listen to music, to dance, let go, and to exhale too. For in that moment, the student of life starts to remember, what was I doing when all that light came in? Was I inhaling and exhaling? Was I at the bottom of my breath or on the top? And the student of life takes a deep breath, and somehow I am going to let go with my breath, let go. The simplicity of placing a finger on a key, for we can stomp on that key and just change the feelings a little bit, and the note has changed itself. And as it is with our tone, we can scream and shout, or we can just talk pleasantly. And as it is with my breath too, inhale. For this is what literally has given us our life, our breath. To relax, let go in the breath. And the student of life has taken so many courses in meditation, everything from A to Z. And all it was is but a moment, wearing business suits and dresses, and even rushing. But somehow I got caught off guard. For at that time I had no name, and somehow I really almost had no face. And somehow under, you could say, a blue sky, something happened that I've always wanted. And the student of life realizes that really, literally, it's not behind a tree, it's not under a rock, it's not in a stream, and it doesn't travel with the clouds. For it was literally your own life that is well designed. It is literally your own life that is your best teacher. It is literally your own life that is literally your best teacher. But you have to surrender all your veils and all your armor. You have to give up all your guns and all your missiles. You have to give up your slingshots and all your criticisms. You even have to give up all your doubt and all your shame. Take a deep breath. And all in but a moment, all that light came in. And all in but a moment, now I have the alchemy inside my belly. And all what it was is just sharing a relationship between two human beings. Let go. All drink from the same ocean. All inhale from the same atmosphere. All walk in the same earth. All have blood. Weaver, I see your web. Weaver, how you have taken me down that road, not just of many, many numbers and names and vowels and syllables. Weaver, I have seen your reflection run from north to south, and how I followed that reflection. Weaver, how you beat your drum around the corner, and how I went to go look to see what it is that you were. And Weaver, I hunted you down morning, noon, and night. And Weaver, I've even hunted in my dreams for you. And now, Weaver, I can see your web. And yet there was no game involved, for I made up the game myself. And what a beautiful web you design. When I was lost, and when the driver of the car thinks, I can remember when I was so lost. What a beautiful web it was, well designed. And I can remember when I was enraged and full of anger. Now I can see the web of that. What a beautiful design it was. And when I first recognized my name for the very first time so long ago, now I can see the beauty of your web. A well-designed plan. A well-designed web. And like the face of a watch that will literally turn itself inside out. What is the macrocosm of a watch is now a microcosm, and what is a microcosm is a macrocosm. Somehow those days that were long, and somehow all that waiting, which took a lot of time, somehow there was no such thing. What a dream it was. And the student of life parks the car in the driveway, and the student of life starts to feel the weight of one's head. And somehow it is just not a matter of excitement or need or want, but somehow feeling the gravity of one's earth. And what a wonderful thing gravity is. And remembering what that vertebrae is for, that it's not one bone like a thigh bone, but many, many sections to bend. Somehow one finds oneself easier to bend forward, and the student of life finds oneself surrendering to the gravity, actually to one's life. And the student of life bows. Peace to your minds. Peace to your lives. Peace to your hearts. open up your eyes. Yeah. And take a break. Thank you. Most of my early life was spent like behind the counter in a restaurant. I grew up in a restaurant, and my brother and I we had to go, and we were the janitors for my father's restaurant, and we had to go before school in the morning to go clean the kitchen. That was always a job, and clean the carpet, vacuum and sweep and do the windows, and then we can go to school. And at nights we had to bust the tables. It was a busy restaurant, and we bust a lot of tables. I loved it. I loved the commotion and the activity, and I think one of my best jobs that I liked was not just bussing tables, cleaning tables, but doing the dishes, being a dishwasher. I became almost, it was like an art to me to get those glasses in there and those cups and put them in the machine and get them out and get them clean and all, and it was, I really, really loved that. And remember so well that those first 22 years, because we started at a very, very early age working, that I was always going to manage restaurants or going to own and run restaurants. There was just nothing else in this world but restaurants. It was tattooed on my forehead, restaurants. And what made that young man's life so difficult was to wipe away the destiny, was to wipe away the image, was to wipe away the thoughts, to wipe away the experience. What made that young man's life so, so difficult was to take away his dream. That was the hard part. That's when it hit home, to take away one's dream. It was like trying to get the earth to reverse directions inside. That's how it is for all of us. It was like trying to get the night into day and the day into night. Difficult. And like all of us, we all go through our changes. And the formula and the alchemy for change, it's in your bones. And sometimes it takes crossing a person's path early in the morning. You let go. And sometimes it takes nobody calling you. Let go. And sometimes it takes a lot of effort. You do it. And sometimes you have to work twice as hard. You work it. And sometimes you're just lost. You surf it. It is your life. And it is well designed. Life knows what it is doing. Life is very intelligent. But it doesn't operate as humans would like for it, or think for it, or hope for it to do. Sometime in the far, far future, we are not going to have literally the same bodies. Our heads are going to be different, and our eyes are going to be different. And our hands and our feet and our whole structure is going to be different. We're evolving every moment. Just to not be fixated to think this is what it is. And most likely our brains will get bigger. And most likely our eyes will definitely get much bigger. And not just to take in more light, but because of curiosity and because of an inert ability and a feeling and a want to see more. And in time, more and more, we will need less and less sleep. We will not be so afraid of being tired, not being so afraid of what it is of seeing too much light. The spirit, it is smaller than an atom. The spirit itself is much, much, much smaller than any atom. When the spirits, they walk into this universe, they see nothing but big balls. And to us, they look like planets and moons and galaxies, and to them, it's somewhat the same. And somehow, I don't know how, I have no idea. But somehow, when a sentient creature is conceived and born, somehow that spirit can easily go in. And the spirit itself, which at one time and at one time in space, much smaller than atoms, and all of a sudden it finds itself growing like a weed. And all it is a body, millimeter by millimeter, fingers getting a little longer, hair growing, getting organs and feeling, you could say, not just an experience, because it is a living situation of growth. And as that growth continues, what an illusion of time and space from youth, and then finally reaches a particular age, and no longer will the bones reach up as high as it can towards the clouds. It finds itself descending, surrendering itself to gravity, and now it shrinks. And what was young is old, and what was old is young. And when I see an old man, I see a young boy. And when I see a young girl, I see an old lady. And as it is, as we pass on our stories from one child to the next, from one generation to the next, and as we spread our genes here and there, that spirit from life to life, from life to life, to life to life, experiences, you could say, the illusions of growth and shrinking, becoming and disappearing, from day to night, from darkness to light. And yet, no matter how many millenniums will pass, all is but a dream still. And yet, once that human being has reached a particular stage in their life, youth dominates, health dominates. The sparkle in the eyes still rests there in the eyes quite easily. Not enough hurt and disappointment to take it away. Still hope. And just because that human being crosses a thought, a person, a situation, an experience, a story, a word, to come across a particular sound, a particular thump from behind, a human being starts to sense and realize that there really is a search, and I must find what it is that I am inside. I may stand 2 meters high, and to find myself, must I dive deep into the atoms within to find that spirit that is. We can touch our heart. We can feel pain. We can easily laugh at something that is funny. And yet we can find ourselves getting that auger, that drill bit. And yet we can find words that can drill deep inside our brains. They can go deeper than any hurt can with the search. And at times we don't even have to take out the drilling bits anymore, for somehow someone crosses our path and they're literally brought the spirit to the surface of the skin, and we are touched. The spirit itself lies, you could say, from a microscopic point of view, millions and millions and millions of miles deep inside your chest. No wonder it takes so long to find oneself. Or how easily we get discouraged when our seeking lasts a little too long, maybe a weekend. Or maybe after 17 years we should have found it. Or maybe after 102 years it should have at least risen up to the surface. And we have found not even old age constitutes any wisdom whatsoever. We have found that it takes a severe amount of effort and sweat, a lot of joy, a lot of resting, a lot of playing, a lot of struggling, a tremendous amount of questions and answers and an awful lot of being lost. And that is the alchemy that all human beings have inside. And when a human being realizes the intelligence of life itself, it begins to trust their own bones. It begins to trust why they have the face that they do. They begin to trust why they have the personality they have. They begin to understand their weaknesses and their strengths a lot better. In essence, they start to love themselves. And like trying to reach Pluto, it takes a long time to travel there. And actually trying to touch and speak to your heart, it takes a long time to travel there too. And like trying to grab someone's attention, sometimes they're magic and it happens in a moment, and sometimes it takes years. And as it is for the search of your own spirit. Life already is. We may see countless billions and billions of births, all from insects and fish, and birds and little mouses and little squirrels and all people too. Life simply is. And the human being realizes my hand is already there, nothing to be born. The human being realizes I was already born. Take a deep breath. And the human being realizes all the days and all the nights that already have been done. Let go. And the human being starts to cross and touch, starts to read and sense. And the human being starts to walk into, and the human being lets it come. All the moments and all the times that you have noticed and not noticed, all the times that you have been kind and not kind, all the time that you have been forgetful and remembered. Take a deep breath. And the human being starts to let one's shoulders let go. We have to be very, very, very smart with our lives. We have to learn to be much, much, much smarter with our minds. Much smarter than any teacher can teach us. Much smarter than any book can teach us. And much smarter than any mind can give to us. Take a deep breath. And that is between your skin, your heart, your mind, your spirit. There's something there that somehow holds it all together. Let go. You were already born to look for a new flag, a new birth, to look for a new nation. Take a deep breath. And as age comes into our life, no longer as taut and stretched as it was, and as hair starts to change its color, let go. Each cell in your body radiates a particular frequency. They are totally independent onto each other. And yet it comprises of the whole, and that is a big, big antenna. Many, many, many voices inside. And to bring all the voices and to bring all the personalities into one voice, into one mind, into one heart. Take a deep breath. For it took them all for us to be us. Let go. And the student of life, as a student, as the awareness becomes keener, sharper, it's just not the walls that you look at anymore. It's just not where the eyes stop at a tree or a house or a particular color. All of a sudden you start to wake up to all the space in between you, the walls, the person in front of you. You begin to take notice of the vast space, not just in between the cars that are parked, and not just in between the bushes and the blades of grass, and not just in between the clouds, and not just in between the lights. But you begin to take notice how much space there really is. For that is actually somewhat mimicking the space that is between the spirit deep inside you and the surface of your skin. And in time, the mind finds itself stretching like a balloon, getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And someone wonders, what can I do floating in space? For what will happen? Will I lose my ground? Will I lose my mind? When you have already been living in a universe very, very big. So like that young man behind the counter so long ago in a restaurant, whose images were fixed inside walls, whose images were fixed and beside many chairs and tables, a broom and a mop handle and a vacuum and nothing more. A world very, very beautiful and wonderful. And yet, like time itself, it reaches that top of the hour. Another wind comes around from another direction and takes you someplace else. Another land, another sight, another friend, another love. Take a deep breath. Let go. And the student of life says, Weaver, I see your web. I see the paradox of it all. I see why you give me day and night. I see why you give me sleep and awake. Weaver, I see your web. I see why you give me what it is to be lost and to be found. Weaver, I see your threads. You have given me coats and dresses and shoes and brushes too. You give me glasses to see and even broken glass not to see. Weaver, I see your web. You have taken the hair away from the top of my head. You've given me feet to dance. Weaver, I see your face. You have given me many, many friends and enemies to dance around. You've given me time to play and work. You've given me trees to climb and to fall. You've given me hurt and joy. Weaver, I see your plan. And like catching a thief crawling in through your window at your home at night, no longer can that search take place. No longer can the thief come in. No longer can your spirit lie deep, deep down into your chest, tens and thousands of millions of miles away. No wonder we always felt so alone. And the call and the sound is made. And simply wanted to use these eyes, what they were really made for, and that is to see all that you can see, and learn to see what you can see and see it well, and learn to see what you cannot see and see it well too. And when you see all that you can see, you have reached your limit. And you realize that life is very alive and very intelligent, and it has an eye to see too. Ask yourself, I have seen all that I have seen. Now teach me to see through your eyes. And that young man behind the counter in the restaurant had to walk away from those walls and those tables and that dishwasher to see what was outside those walls. And the student of life very quietly begins to trust that little finger that you had such great doubt in. And the student of life begins to trust all the smooth muscles on your face that you once hated at one time. And the student of life begins to find that whole face that you hid so well. And the student of life lets the brain totally light up, no longer afraid to see. Neutralize the acid in your blood. Neutralize the alkaline in your blood. There are enough soldiers to take care of your country. Let them do their job. And as you neutralize this acid and this alkaline in your blood, you become, I guess you would say, very Swiss. Not part of the EU, very independent on this planet. Now just do it to your blood. There will always be war and fights on this planet. It is a nature of stick and stones. It is a nature I see and do not understand. It is a nature I understand, but yet I do not see. And as you neutralize, you will find those worry lines disappearing. You would find the lines of aggression and doubt disappearing. And you'll find yourself in time very Swiss. And if you have developed aggression, you have developed aggression actually from another nation of being aggressive. And if you have developed some insanity, you have developed and pulled insanity from another nation. Relax. Take a deep breath. Do not need a fancy word to light up your brain. Relax. You are who you are. And it took billions of years for you to be you. And whether it be 100 million years of dinosaurs, or whether it be an epoch of just volcanic activity and moisture and steam, how long did it take for you to be you? In this world, every week, there are hundreds and hundreds of periodicals and books being published. New discoveries and new ideas, and they're all wonderful, and read as much as you can. And like all generations before, new philosophies and new ideas and new ways to think. And yet all creatures and humans are born with a conscience. And after the first 7 years of life, that conscience is literally thrown into the back seat of your life, of your car. And who becomes your God is reason and logic. And what happened to spontaneity and just being simple? And nature says, build your buildings. And nature says, color your flags. And nature says, dry your bricks. And nature says, make your paper. And nature says, build your roads. But do not forget your heart. And do not forget you are just not a thought. You already were born. And as a student of life, takes conceptual thought. As a student of life, takes the feelings quietly. As a student of life, grabs the hand of the mind. Take a deep breath. And the student of life, all together, past and present and future, let go. Peace to your minds. Peace to your hearts. Peace to your lives. And as the silence erupts like a volcano, and the silence gets louder and louder and louder and louder, and as the silence reaches such a volume, not even lightning and thunder can outshine it. And the little tiny spirits that we are, in a very unusual moment, one can say, I was born and I lived, I aged, and I closed my eyes. What a dream it is. Let's take a break. Do I get up here? let's do some questions. Questions and some answers. Because during the breaks, the questions that come up, and I will say a great deal of the time, please ask me out here. And usually I can answer your questions a lot better. On a one-to-one, some questions are easily taken care of. And some questions require years and years and years. And some questions require a different kind of a response. And most of the time, I can respond better here. Sometimes. So, yes.
Yesterday you were talking about surfing emotions and feelings, or to ride them. I'd like you to talk more about it.
The question is about, yesterday we talked about surfing feelings and emotions with the surfboard, or putting on a pair of skis. What's a snowboard? You know, now the new way, snowboard it. Or body surf. You know, body surf is you don't need a board. You know, you got your board. You know, and to ride it, and what it is to ride this. Know your enemy well. Know your enemy well. Know your enemy well. When the enemy is not known, disaster, occupation, possession, terrible things can happen. When you know your enemy well, things can change. It is a quality that most cultures, Western culture especially, teaches their people in a way that's not so healthy about the emotional body. The emotional body is not an enemy at all. I use it as a reference point because it becomes your enemy when it runs amok. It becomes your enemy when it runs off. It becomes your enemy when it creates problems. It becomes your enemy when people are yelling at you and you're yelling at them. No. It becomes something foreign to you. It's something that's uncontrollable. I've told this story here. I'm going to tell the story again, and try and translate it to the emotional body. It's a good story. Yeah. Imagine 600 years ago. We're here in Switzerland, and they're just you and me. Just you, not the whole crowd. Just you, yourself, and me. Just two of us. And we are about 25 years of age, and we're men. And whether you're female, okay, just become transvestite just for one day. Okay. So you're male and female. Okay. Or males. We're both males, and we're fighters. Okay? I get a little mixed up here. Yeah, and we both are fighters, and we're very, very good fighters. And actually, because I know somewhat the history of Switzerland, and the valleys, one valley fights another valley, and one valley fights another section of other valleys in Switzerland, and pretty soon they all got together. Well, 500 years ago, we're still fighting other valleys. So just you and me, we're big and strong, and we know how to swing that sword, and we have already fought 5 or 6 valleys around here, and we win all the time. We always win. And every time we win a valley, it becomes part of our territory, so to speak. We become, CEOs of these valleys. Okay? And then after we fight, we always go and have a couple beers or a few more beers, and we celebrate at night, and then pretty soon we hear that another valley wants to fight us, no problem. We are going to go out there and fight, and pretty soon we go out there, and they're just both of us marching, and drinking, and there's the enemy, 4 or 5 other men in another valley, because the population is not so big like it is today. So we go and fight these 5 soldiers, and we beat them too. And we got another valley. And after another 4 or 5 years, we're pretty, let's say our self-esteem is very good. Hey, and we are the controllers of these valleys, we got it down. And we hear some stories, somebody's been traveling in some faraway valley, and we hear that there's this other valley that wants to fight us. No problem. When? Tomorrow. No problem. Where are they? In the other valley over. No problem. Okay, so, we've been doing this for so many years and whatever, and, what are we going to do tonight? Of course, let's have a party. So we're going to have a party, and we start drinking beer, and it's about 12 midnight, and it's a full moon. It's not raining, it's clear skies and stars up there, and there we are, just very, very, very drunk, and we're talking about all the successes that we have had, and and how wonderful we are, and look at this scar, and look at this one, and look at that one, and look at this one, and look at this one, and this one, and then finally, I have to go to bed. I got to go to bed. So my cohort goes to bed too, and finally I says, I think I'm going to go look. I'm going to go look to see who we're going to fight tomorrow. Naturally I expect maybe, because if somebody, after all these years, we're legends, him and I, you and I, we're legends, complete legends. We're just well known throughout the land. Who's going to dare fight us? Who has the gall to think they can beat us? So I go up there on top of the hill. I get on top of the hill. My mind, all of a sudden, is no longer drunk. I have sobered up 100%. I am completely sober and in shock. There aren't just 2 campfires, and there just aren't 3, and there just aren't 5, and there just not 20. There's hundreds. Hundreds. I stay on top of the hill, have a good look, stay sober. What am I going to tell my friend? He's not going to believe me. So I got to go down. I'm scared. No longer I don't have any more self-esteem. I go back down the hill, wake up my friend. You got to come see this. And naturally, it's going to be difficult to drag him. He's drunk. He weighs heavy. He's belligerent. And so I finally drag him up there and look. Very, very quickly, alcohol does not work. Very, very quickly, being drunk and numb no longer works. No longer. It's gone. It's finished. It's over. And all we can do is observe and watch the hundreds of campfires. In essence, what it is nothing but the actual numbers. It is nothing but the reality of the situation that is sobering. What are we going to do? We look at each other, let's run. Where are we going to run to? Let's run. Yeah, where are we going to? Let's just get the hell out of here. I said, wait a minute. They'll find us no matter where we are. We are too well known. They will find us. We got to get smarter than our minds. We got to get smarter than our teachers. We have to be much smarter than what we were taught. What are we going to do? And as it is, when that mental body that has been so clever, that knows how to add and subtract, and that knows wonderful, wonderful words, and that has a lot of facts at your disposal, and that wonderful, wonderful mind has been so successful every day, built up, and you're very, very, very young. But when that emotional body kicks in, or when that illness comes, what happens? That's the enemy. The emotional body, you could say it is somewhat as big, is somewhat like the universe, and that mental body is so condensed. It is very much like the atmosphere of just the earth. There's a difference. That emotional body is very much like a volcano, like a raging storm, and yet a silent sea. And yet you can only build so many dams, and yet you can only hold so much water before it rains too much. The emotional body is liquefied and will liquefy everything. And yet when we can hold it steady, like holding a pair of horses on a chariot that are just wild inside, wild with passion, wild with feeling, wild with impulse. And to be the charioteer and to get to hold those horses steady, and not just to control it or kick the spirit out of it, but to be with those horses, to be, call it, with that lower part of the body, to be with those primal brains, to be with that rage inside, and not to fear it, but to be smarter than what you were taught. So finally, I come up with an idea, a beautiful idea, because they're going to come around the hill in the morning. Let's go get ready. We go to the nearest village, wake up everybody. Let's start sewing and let's start printing some brochures. And when they come across and come around, and they're asking, where are these two wonderful soldiers? We're going to say, here we are your tour guides of your land. Let us show you how beautiful your land is. As it is for the emotional body too. And how it took so long for human beings to sit on the shore and watch the waves and see how dangerous they are, and then for someone to have an idea and the courage to write it. And as it is for people too, to see the passions of people, to see the passions of young ones, to see the passions of an artist, to see the passion of a dancer, and see that this passion just lives every moment, and how we can easily just wring it out like a wet towel and get all that passion out, or we can just let it be and not, let's say, fear it nor fight it, but learn to surf it. And that emotional body, very much like a volcano and like fire, that somehow burns and how easy it is to fear it, and how easily we have learned in our Western world to hide it and to be stern and to be a little too dry. But see, it is just not the tears that will do it. It is to get past that. For what do you think your nervous system actually is? Electrical impulses firing at fire, in the fire, producing fire in itself. It is the mental body that actually fears going inside those nervous system, especially that spinal cord, and that tremendous amount of fire. What can thought do with that? For it is of nature. And so that personality dodges in and out of the head, back down to the spine, back up to the head, back into the spine, back into that mind, back into that heart that just pumps and pumps and pumps and pumps and pumps and pumps and pumps. No control. Let's go back to counting 1, 2, 3. At least we know the succession of numbers and sticks and stones. At least I understand that. But how can one understand fire inside? If we just had let the little ones so long ago, let that fire stay alive, inspiration, aspiration. If we hadn't restricted them so much, tightened that knot around their heads to the point that logic and reason really became the back seat. And somehow what is human somehow only belongs to a few words in a dictionary. No wonder we fight so much. No wonder we argue so much. No wonder there's so much war today. We fear our own feet. We fear other people. We fear when people somehow go out of control. And we call it chaos, and it's not chaos. It's just a knot tight around the throat. And yet the impulse of evolution, the impulse of everything that exists, is to evolve, to touch, to grow. So do not be afraid of others' emotions nor yours. It's not a matter of control, it's being smarter with it and surf it. We are just not thought. We are just not a thought. And we are not just a succession of thoughts. And we are not a sentence. We are not just a meaning. And yet when we apply words to a song, what a beautiful song it is. But if we just stay words and thoughts, how dry the desert becomes. And so with every thought, put it into your spinal cord so the fire can fire it. And that is what brings life to a thought. Passion. Passion that is really innate in nature. Passion that is innate in all living cells. Passion. That's why so many people have emotional problems. The sailor's knot is too tight around the neck. The passion, that pressure is built up too much. No release. And like an arm that is asleep, and what makes this even more difficult, and like that arm that has been so asleep for so long, like that head or that heart that has been asleep so long, blood out of it, numbed, and then to put the blood back into the arm, it is going to be so painful. And what people first think of all, pain means bad way, wrong way, go the other way. Stop it. Stop the pain. So the arms stay asleep. The head stays numb. The heart stays numb. There's two kinds of pain, inappropriate pain and appropriate pain. Understand the difference. There's a big difference. When it comes to appropriate pain, it is because your arm is asleep and the blood is going back in, and it is painful, very, very painful for it to wake up and feel again. For how comfortable we get being numb. So be a good tour guide for those emotions. Much bigger than you. It is wild. Wild with lightning and storm. Wild with uncertainty. Wild with unpredictability. Not to control your emotions, but ride them like surfers, snowboarders, and skiers. And horses, wild stallions, wild mustangs. And when I find one of you as wild, I'll ride you. I like wild people. And you're pretty wild. I'm going to take another break. A short one. You know, a person asked, why is it that I go out and speak and do what I do? Why is it that I spend almost 5.5 months, 6 months a year on the road doing this? And after been on the road, how many years? 12 years. It's like I've just started. Just started. But there is an objective, and that objective is a transference. That transference takes place. Transference. Transference. And not an exchange, transference. Not an exchange, transference. Transference is a way and a means. It is nothing but a jump. It's a little cheating the books. And why not? There's this article, someone got this out of the newspaper. And don't try and figure out what it is, because it's just as ugly as it is here as it is from you and out there. Okay. It's a fish at the bottom of the ocean. It's one of those deep sea fishes. Okay. Deep fish, real. Okay. I don't think you want this in your bathtub. Hey. No. The reason I like it, I think it's cute. The reason I like this is because of the effort in its eyes. I'll pass this around. It's most of us have seen those deep sea fishes, huh? They're unusual, and what makes this particular fish an extremely unusual is that it has evolved unusual eyes, because at the bottom, as we know, at the bottom of the ocean, there's no light, or very, very little tints of light. It's almost like a cloudy night, and it's almost even every now and then one starlight comes through. Very little light. And as it is in the bottom of an ocean, and this particular fish, the eyes have evolved to a degree and continuously evolving so as to grab what little light there is to see. And we actually see with our senses, with our fingers, and we see with our feet, and we see with thoughts, and we see on many different levels of perception. But it is the perception of sight that is extremely important to understand. We have a phone going off. Anybody? They all sound alike these days, and we don't, we just don't even know. Yeah. Yeah. What was I talking about? Eyes. So, all right, eyes. I got lost because I was going to tell you about. I got a phone too, and sometimes I leave it on, and it's never gone off yet because I was been very lucky. Nobody called me while I was teaching. Can you imagine? Chanting. Then excuse me. It's my mother. So, eyes. The perception of sight in a spiritual process, very, very few sects, organizations, groups, person ever pay attention to this. They keep the spiritual perception and the spiritual quest to spiritualness. Words, thoughts, ideas. Yeah. The spiritualness is something that is so simple and right in front of you, it's impossible almost to perceive and to see. And if one takes the human body, which so many people are disgusted with it, they hate it, they're confused by it, a lot of doubt with it, especially fearing illness, and it's not so nice, or being afflicted by it, or having a little too much guilt and turning in on oneself. In essence, darkening certain aspects, not just of our mind, but of our own bodies, and we start to lose sight of it. And here's a good case in point. Years and years ago, being a biofeedback technician, biofeedback are the medical instruments, and what you do, you get these electrodes and you attach them to certain parts of the body to read temperature, brain waves, muscular, and sweat gland, the emotions of the body. And there was this lady that was coming in for migraine headaches. And after trying everything, just to get the headaches reduced, and because migraines are very, very difficult things, I became extremely discouraged, and I kind of put away the biofeedback and started to talk to her about her life and what was going on. And again we talk, and just keep talking, and finally I found what the problem was. Because as she relaxed and as she started to trust me more, she talked more about her personal life. And in time I found out what she did. She hated her legs. Hated her legs. Hated her legs. They weren't. She had this perception that her legs had to have this certain style and look and everything, and she just hated her legs ever since she was a little girl. And people made her friends, little girls, how kids are, they made fun of her, and she would never go to the beach, never go swimming, always wear long dresses, hated her legs. Got it. Because what creates a migraine is actually the blood vessels in the brain, they expand. They expand so much. And where's this blood coming from? It comes from the extremities, the hands and the feet. So all this blood comes up and puts pressure on the central cord, puts pressure on the head, and these blood vessels expand so much that they start to press on the nerves of the brain, creating a migraine. So you got to get the blood out. You got to get it back into the body so there's more of a balance of a blood system. And once we started to work with it, the first response was more blood into the brain, the headache gets worse. Because she's looking at it now. She's looking at the thief. She's looking at the problem. She's watching the thief come into her body, into her mind. She's watching the thief coming in. And it's scary to deal with it. So in time, desensitize, so to speak, relax, feel more comfortable with her feet. So she could, let's say, get back her whole body. The mind is clever. The mind is very, very, very clever. You can rationalize anything you want. The mind can rationalize any story you want, any answer you want. The mind has been watching you since the day you could think. Your mind knows you better than you'll ever know yourself. It has watched you in your sleep, watch how you dream, watch how you deal with situations that matter morning, noon, and night. So the student of life has to get much smarter with themselves. The mind is still going to do what it's going to do. It's not to control the mind. Let the mind do what it's going to do. You're not the mind. So the perception changes. Instead of observing each thought, let them go. They're designed to be manufactured by the bundle. We need thoughts. We need curiosity. We need these thoughts to travel in all directions. Let it go. You're fine. Look, you made it all. Look, how old are you now? You Here you are sitting in this chair, and look what you have gone through. Some of us at the tips of World War II. Some of us, we have escaped accidents, falling off this, falling off trees, and this and that. Look, we made it. We're okay. It means you're okay. And whether your mind's been in chaos or you have a little anxiety, you made it. You got here. You're okay. Let that perception be. But there's another perception to take it over to the other side, another direction. Let the mind think. Let the mind run. If there's chaos, let it be in chaos. It is up to you to take those eyes like looking over here, but there's no reference points. That's the problem. There aren't any reference points that you're used to. So everybody's used to walking down a particular street, and here you have these particular stores, and you want to see something. Grabs your attention. You want to see something. If there's an alleyway, you don't see it. If it's shiny, usually we look at it. If it's something that has the right lines and angles and the right texture of color, and it catches our eye, and we have a fancy for it, we go look to see it. But if something it's just nothing but black, forget it. There's nothing there. This is where you have to understand time and space. There aren't any reference points, brand new reference points. It's kind of like an astronaut going up into space for the very first time, and just don't go look at the stars or the suns or the falling stars. Look at the space. Look and observe the space of it. We are trained from such an early age, anything that reflects light, go look at. Other than that, there's nothing. So mind doesn't look at nothing, just something that reflects light. Look at the space. No reference points. There's nothing to see, but yet there is. It's empty, but it's not. It looks empty, but it's full. Then the eye, like this creature, it wants to, let's say, evolve a little bit differently because there's nothing there, but yet there is. So it starts to develop a different, unique perception in order to see where there are no reference points that you're used to. Was a question. Next question. Give me some questions. Yes.
We talk about gaps.
Yeah. I talk about gaps. This we're going to go down into a situation that afflicts most of us, and these are social gaps, personality gaps, development gaps. And I'm sure I'm sure there's quite a few here, but most human beings on this planet are raised in with a mother and a father where they have gaps in their own lives, gaps in their thinking. They're struggling to be what it is to be mature, be a father, be a mother. And so many people don't have an understanding of money and business and paper and pencil. And so many people have misjudgments and fear and doubt and hatred for government, so therefore they are not going to look at it but do nothing but fight it. And as a result of these upbringings that so many people are literally encapsulated in essence, kids start to develop gaps. And the parents that, let's say, are well-adjusted, they've had good parents, and they raise their kids to have very, very few gaps. To the point, it's understanding this world, not to fear it, not to fight it. Understanding your own fears and your emotions very, very every day, quietly, with patience. So in essence, they have the maturity and the kindness and the understanding that they can easily pass on the moment to the moment, because it is in each child's life. They literally live in the moment, and every moment is dramatic. Every moment is drastic. Every moment is an impact. And when an adult has not just the patience, but they are the patience, and they have a very good understanding of society and money and business and this, they easily pass on this comfortableness. It's a comfortableness of it all. But and so many, and most of us, we were raised with parents, that's not the case. So kids they walk into the world, into first grade, into high school, they walk into college, they walk into this business world with gaps without even knowing it, and yet they know something's wrong. And I too, I had a lot of gaps, mucho. And it was painful. It was very, very painful. Actually, it wasn't until my 30s that I began to really see these gaps. So I had a long way to climb to try and close the gaps with education, with updating my thoughts, my philosophies, and acknowledging as much as possible my naivety, which is really the greatest and the biggest disease, the most major disease on this planet today is naivety. And my ignorance, of course. And just do it the best way I can, and to give it time. And if you have this problem, I'm sure there are other ways, but one of the ways that I have found, first of all, number one, is recognize that you have a naivety and an ignorance, which is nothing but gaps in a continuous stream of living from morning till night that is disrupted. And what you do is that generally, if you could go find a mentor, a person that you know is comfortable with it all. Some people are very comfortable with money, some with business, some with understanding nations and government, because most people are mad with it, or angry is what I mean. They're angry with it all. And they're so angry it's hard to have clear sight. And yet to have a mind that has let's say, a balance of it all. And it's not to blame, but to understand, because there's always a history behind it. And if we could really see the history behind it all, we would, let's say, be a lot more forgiving with people, nations, and everything else. If people could see what it is to be insane, if you really could see the terror of what it is to be insane, and then walk back out, every day for the rest of your life, you would wake up every morning and to yourself. If you could wake up and walk into somebody else's mind and see what it is to be ignorant and so naive and not even know it, and then to come back into your mind, you would never, never, ever complain. Never. In reality, whether you are totally immersed in naivety or ignorance, or whether you are totally immersed in clarity, intelligence, and goodness, you are who you are, comfortable with yourself. And you would never want to exchange with somebody else's mind. Never. Even though you may want to have that person's mind or that person's mind, you wouldn't. Because in essence, If you go to a person whose mind is a lot clearer, you're going to feel that your arms and legs are asleep. And to put the blood back into them, it is going to be painful. That's why get to know yourself. That is literally the best chance you have is yourself. And those parts of you that are enraged and those parts of you that where life is not fair, life is not designed to be fair. It never was. That's not even the point. Hunt down naivety. You hunt that down morning, noon, and night, and you catch it and update it. And one of the, let's say, the lipus test, the thermometer, the indicator of this is a very fine line between inappropriate pride and appropriate pride. And get to know the difference between the two. And once you got it, naivety will never escape you, will never hide behind you. Naivety will never be your guide. Naivety will never be your road signs. Naivety will never be your map. It can't. Question. Yes. When can we trust the language of our heart, and how can we tell if it's just an illusion or if it's really the heart speaking? Basically, a big percent, basically a very, very big percent, don't have a good understanding of what the heart is and how it speaks and its function. They think it's something to do with maybe feelings for someone. Yeah, but or they think it has to do with being with elations and joy. Yeah, but or they think when you're in love. Yeah, but the heart basically is creative force. The heart basically is creative force. The heart is creative force. And what is creative force? What are you going to do with that? It has given us our life, our sight, our dreams, our hopes, our inspirations. It has given us our toothbrush, our water, our drops. It has given us our song, even our silence. It has given us our clothes. Creative force. That means what it is to be human is very, very, very small, encompassed in comparison to the rest of life, the universe. Very, very small. And yet, in essence, as we look, let's say 100 million miles away from the planet and start to approach this planet at very fast speeds, we can find ourselves, let's say, almost a microscopic little bacteria or bug or worm, somehow wiggling every now and then, moving and making some unusual signs. And yet that microscopic world has literally manufactured this macrocosm. And what is a macrocosm is really within the microcosm. The paradox again. I was young and now I am old. I am one and now I am 101. I am dreaming and now I am awake. I'm awake now, but tonight I will dream. Today my mind is clear and fine. Maybe tomorrow I will be in chaos and cry. I'm smiling now, but will I smile again next year? My body is healthy now, and who knows? The paradox of it all. We have two brains, a left brain and a right brain that somehow look in two different directions. One dances and one thinks. And how odd it is to dance and then to be in thought. How ridiculous it is to make love and then to think. And to be that creative force and yet to have the perception to keep one's eyes open and see. But see not just as human beings see, but see how life sees. That is your choice. You can see as far as you really want to see, but it will take time. Or you can bring that Berlin Wall as close as it is to your nose, and that's the extent. That is your choice. And time becomes your friend, not your enemy, to see. And this creative force is the great farmer of it all. The great farmer of time and space, the great farmer of each cell. And the creative force does nothing but farm the land for you, gets your next day ready just for you. What do you want? The farmer says, what do you want? And you say, I want war. The farmer says, no problem, just give me time and I will give you war. And the farmer says to you, what do you want? You want peace, no problem, just give me time and I will give you peace. And the farmer says to you, what do you want? You want family? No problem. Just give me time and I will give you family. And the great farmer says, what do you wish? I want ignorance. No problem. Just give me time and I will give you ignorance. The great farmer says, what do you wish? I wish to be half blind. No problem. Just give me time and I will make you half blind. The great farmer says, what do you wish? I wish to be mental. No problem. Just give me time and I will make you fully mental. The great farmer says, what do you want? I wish to be insane. No problem. Just give me time and I will give you insanity. What do you want? Or do not forget, you've been given a unique gift, and that gift is a free will. It is not to buy clothes, it is not to buy combs or even shoes, nor even brooms. It is a creator of your dreams. What do you want? And because life is, and what you want, just give it time, whether it's this life or the next, or maybe another 10 or so, but you will eventually have it. Just give yourself plenty of time. No hurry. I was going to go. Yeah. Oh, yes. I need to give out I moved out of California, and I'm now living in New Mexico. And my phone number has changed, address has changed, email is still the same, but that's going to change eventually. So I need to give that out. The new address, Alma, A-L-M-A compound, C-O-M-P-O-U-N-D. That means home of the soul. So the address, 320 Kearney. Or when you're in Ireland, in Scotland they say Kearney. So that's K-E-A-R-N-E-Y Avenue, Unit, U-N-I-T, 14. 14, 1-4. That is Santa Fe, S-A-N-T-A, new word, capital F-E, New Mexico, 87501. Phone number, 505-986-1376. We were scheduled to do a dance, but after talking about it, I want to maybe next time to do a fire dance. And if you come back, the new people, I'm a little different in the dance, so if you be prepared for that. I'm a lot nicer. with
Aborigine,
origin of dreams?
Aborigine, the Australian people.
About, can I speak about dream time of the Australians, the Aborigines?
Yeah, the relation between their dreams, what they see in dreams,
Mm-hmm.
and what you see in.
That's a good question. And the relationship of how a Westerner or Swiss views dreams versus Aborigines viewing dreams. It's almost impossible for a Swiss to go and actually view and see an Aborigine how they dream. Very, very, very difficult. Very difficult. Their dreams are so primal in the primal sense. Very difficult. I think you want to stay with your Swiss dreams. It's not Swiss. It's more primal. Very, very primal. There aren't any houses. There aren't nice dresses. There's nothing nice about the bodies. It's very insect, animal dream. And yet they see the passage of time because they're comfortable with themselves. You know, it is almost the same thing. And a lot of Swiss can do it, and a lot of people can do it, but it's still very difficult. And it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing to do, to go out and live with the natives. But to marry a native is a different story. To really marry a native who's really ancient. They're not going to have your logic, nor thinking in dream or in waking state. Very difficult. And try to bring a native here and to be Swiss. And try to get them to dream Swiss dreams. Jesus Christ. Ding, 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 ding. The bells. Ding, 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 ding. No. You drive them nuts. Thank you. Thank you very, very much for being attentive. You're very, very attentive. So it's easy to speak and to talk to you because you're so attentive. That's Swiss. Very nice. Enjoy your life. Love your life. Love those feet. Love those hands. Love that nose of yours. And love those cheeks. Good night. You don't need this.